An explosion forces students to evacuate at Vallejo High School. And workers at a South Sacramento Jack in the Box robbed at gunpoint. News 10 Midday is coming up in 60 seconds.
This is News 10 Midday.
And welcome to News 10 Midday on this Friday, November 14th. I'm Dan Elliott. And we start with a developing story out of Solano County. A natural gas explosion prompting an evacuation at Vallejo High School. 2 maintenance workers were injured in this blast, but fortunately no students were hurt. Vallejo Fire Department says it happened about 8 o'clock in a photo lab. Maintenance was working on the heating system when the explosion occurred. That building will remain closed. You can see all the students when they were evacuated. They have since been able to go back onto campus and class has resumed. In Sacramento, police are investigating an armed robbery that occurred earlier this morning just after 7 o'clock. This is the Jack in the Box in the 5400 block of Stockton Boulevard. It's near Fruit Ridge Road. Police say 2 men robbed the cashier at gunpoint, taking money from a register and a safe. One worker who chose not to be identified described the frightening ordeal.
One of them came through the door, the other one jumped the counter, and they both have guns. And then they came first with me, and they put me the gun in my back, and they're like, give me all the money. So I give them everything, you know, and I didn't argue with them or nothing. After that, like they said, open the safe. So we went back there and they took all the money, but I was like, that was really scary. I'm not even feel safe to work here no more.
Now, police did not get a useful description of the alleged robbers. Anyone with information is asked to please call Sacramento Police. Some new information on the Keystone Pipeline. The Republicans in the House approving legislation that authorized construction of the controversial oil pipeline. The bill passing by a vote of 252 to 161. Republican Jeff Denham of Turlock, one House Republican who voted to approve construction of the Keystone XL project. They say it will create more than 40,000 jobs and move the country towards greater energy independence. The Senate is expected to vote on the bill Tuesday, and if they approve it as expected, then it would go to the president's desk. We don't know yet if President Obama plans to sign it into law or veto it. The president has delayed any decision on the pipeline pending a State Department review. You may have seen it yourself this morning. Well, you couldn't see much because of it. Dense fog hitting the valley, a very dense fog that made the commute extremely difficult. We've got 3 different looks at it for you right now. From the tower high above News 10 400 Broadway, you can see the picture of I-5 on your left in Sacramento. You can also see a picture of I-5 in the pocket area, and you can see Interstate 80 as well, and a little bit of fog still lingering around, but nothing like what we saw early this morning. And Rob, as we check in with you, is it fair to call it fog or do we call it low cloud? What is it?
Okay, this is a tricky one,
okay,
and we use the terms interchangeably a lot, but what we're looking at the moment is a layer of low cloud. So we'll go ahead and take a look at this behind me. As you can see, it's gray from the top down from the satellite. It looks like fog, but when you take a closer look here, and as we'll show you with this first image here, this is the camera here from our tower cam, and you can see that this shot is through this layer of low clouds. If the cloud is on the ground, that is fog. If it's up just a little bit, we call that low clouds, and low clouds are typically not an issue for driving. Again, you can see it off in the distance. It's a layer of clouds that's very low to the ground, but since it's not directly on the ground, it's not fog, and that's why we do not have a dense fog advisory at the moment. So I know it's a little confusing. Just know when we're talking fog, that's when you should be concerned. Low clouds usually just make for a gray atmosphere and kind of a gloomy day, but usually not an issue for drivers. As you can see, 5 miles of visibility at the airport through that layer of low clouds from Sacramento. We're going to see some clearing today, though even the low clouds are going to get on out of here, and then we're all looking ahead to this big area of low pressure that's going to sweep on through the area, and that's going to completely change our weather going into next week. So with some leftover fog in some patchy spots, now it's becoming mostly just low clouds. We're going to see lots of clearing later on today, the high 66. Next week, we're looking at a couple systems that could bring us rain in our area. We'll talk much more about that later on. Back to you.
All right, thanks, Rob. Sacramento police are searching for 2 men they believe believe responsible for a series of restaurant burglaries in the South Sacramento area. Police say all 5 burglaries happened in the last 2 months along Freeport and Stockton Boulevards. 2 men would force their way in before either taking off with a safe or the cash box. If you've got any information that might help police solve this crime, you're asked to please give them a call. Some high-profile cases happening today. The man accused of drowning his girlfriend's dog in Sacramento has been extradited from Reno. William Meek allegedly attached a bowling ball and a large rock to a 12-year-old border collie before throwing the dog into the river in June. He faces animal cruelty and drug-related charges. He's due in Sacramento County Court this afternoon. The man accused of killing a Vacaville high school student also due in court today. 20-year-old Alejandro Edward Jones allegedly shot and killed 18-year-old Demetrius Ward during a robbery back on October 6th. Ward was shot in the head while sitting in his truck at a Vallejo apartment complex. Investigators say that Jones shot Ward while trying to rob him of a small amount of marijuana. Some other top stories now. A motorist who died after crashing into the Sacramento River has been identified. 22-year-old Justin Alexander Rubio Dorsey was traveling in a Mercedes-Benz when he failed to make a turn onto the Slough Bridge, the steamboat Slough Bridge. He then crashed into the river. Another driver said that Dorsey was yelling for help, saying he could not swim. That's when 58-year-old Michael Dwyer dove into the water. He wanted to help, but he was unable to save him. In fact, he got about halfway there and had to turn around because he knew he wasn't going to make it. Dorsey was already dead when rescue crews pulled him out of the water. A Roseville High School graduate who was a baseball and football star made his first court appearance yesterday in Oregon. He's a murder suspect. His name is Bo Smith, and he was wearing a suicide vest in court. He's accused of killing 66-year-old Michael Hampshire early Wednesday morning. There's no indication that the two even knew each other. Somebody called police after finding Hampshire's body near an intersection just before 4 o'clock in the morning. People who know Hampshire are understandably devastated. A neighbor says that he had visited the victim just hours before his body was found. As for Smith, his former principal and many others are shocked by the allegations.
A very good student when he attended Roseville High School. He graduated probably, I think, in the top 5% of his class with a 4.0 plus GPA. Outstanding athlete, 2 sports, played football as well as baseball, and someone who did not get himself in any trouble while he was attending the high school.
Well, police investigators say they found Smith just a short distance away from where Hampshire's body was discovered. Last night, more than 100 people packed onto the tracks to pay tribute just hours after a 15-year-old girl was struck and killed by a light rail train in Rancho Cordova. That girl's been identified as Mariah Burgess. The growing crowd gathered at Coloma Road and Folsom Boulevard, lighting candles, offering prayers, and paying tribute to the teenage girl. Witnesses say that Mariah was wearing earbuds at the time. Investigators aren't saying, though, whether that played a role in the accident. Some headlines now from around the state, and officials in California say they have found a way to pay for the controversial water tunnels that would pump water from the Sacramento River around the Delta. The state treasurer's office plans to release a study today showing cities and farmers who need water the most can't afford to pay their share for the project, which is championed by Governor Jerry Brown. The Bay Delta Conservation Plan has a $25 billion price tag. Critics say that the tunnels would further harm the Delta and water quality. Open enrollment for Covered California begins in less than 24 hours. Tomorrow, Californians get the chance to either make changes to their health insurance policies or even sign up for the first time. Covered California is trying to ramp up enrollment numbers with ads such as this one. This year, Californians have less time to enroll. The period for enrollment for 2015 will last from tomorrow until February 15th. Those who fail to sign up by the deadline could face a penalty. Individuals who are already signed up and don't want to make any changes to their coverage, well, they don't have to worry about it. Their policy will renew automatically. If you want to make changes, though, you need to do that by December 15th because that's the best way to ensure you will have coverage at the beginning of 2015. Hey, if you'd like to help somebody in need this holiday season, this is your chance. News 10 and Raley's are teaming up for their annual Food for Families food drive. Raley's will match your donation, and that'll make those groceries go even farther. The goal is 2 million pounds of food this year, and so far Raley's has sold more than 7,500 bags. Those bags just cost $10 a bag, and that equals more than 200,000 pounds of food for families in need. So they're on their way, but they've got a ways to go, and you can help donating between now and December 31st, both in stores and online. If you need more information, just go to news10.net and look for Food for Families. It's under the Quick Links section on our homepage. Coming up on News 10 Midday, President Obama continues his trip to Asia, today meeting with the leader of Myanmar. Ahead, the bold statement the president makes on immigration reform. Plus, think you know how to do laundry? Well, Reader's Digest says not so fast. Some things you might be doing wrong in the laundry room. That's next, right here on News 10 Midday. Welcome back to Midday. It was a major security breach, an embarrassment for the Secret Service when a man jumped the White House fence in September and got all the way to the East Room. Well, now a newly released report by Homeland Security outlines even more blunders. ABC's Taman Bradley has more.
It's a damning report. Investigators say this White House fence jumper made it inside the building because of Secret Service blunders. The mistakes were performance-based, organizational, and technical, the report says. Alarms did not work, radios failed, and officers were out of position when Omar Gonzalez jumped the fence, ran inside, and overpowered a female guard. Gonzalez made it all the way to the East Room, past stairs that led to the first family's residence. The report says no one was in a position to catch him. There is harsh criticism for an officer who had an attack dog. He was inside his van on his personal cell phone without his radio earpiece in. He didn't have his backup radio either. That was left in his locker. His errors contributed to the slow response.
We all are outraged within the Secret Service of how this incident came to pass.
The incident and other embarrassing missteps led to the resignation of Secret Service Director Julia Pearson. She was replaced by Joe Clancy, a retired agent who was in charge of President Obama's personal security detail from 2009 to 2011.
He's also somebody who has the full confidence of the President, the First Lady.
The report also raises questions about whether Secret Service personnel are overworked and whether the officers who guard the grounds have adequate training.
That was Taman Bradley reporting for us. Despite the report, Congress is still looking for answers. The acting Secret Service director is expected to appear on Capitol Hill next week. President Obama continues his trip to Asia, Southeast Asia, where today he met with the Myanmar opposition leader. The two Nobel Prize winners discussing democratic reforms in the country, also known as Burma. Myanmar is scheduled to hold national elections next year, but how President Obama made headlines is what he vowed to do regarding immigration reform back here in the States.
If, in fact, Congress failed to act, I would use all the lawful authority that I possess to try to make the system work better. And that's going to happen. That's going to happen before the end of the year.
President Obama has already told Republican congressional leaders he wants to work on a legislative solution. However, if Congress doesn't act, he says he will act. Coming up on News 10 Midday after the break, we're getting ready for the weekend. You need to know the weather. Rob's got it for us right after this on News 10 Midday. We are checking on your money, and the markets are down as we wrap up the work week. NASDAQ -2, S&P 500 -2, and there you see the Dow Jones Industrial Average reflected on the big board at the New York Stock Exchange. It's down 33 points. Well, a lot of families might be busy getting the planning done for their Thanksgiving dinners, but for the savvy shoppers out there, it's all about holiday deals. And according to Consumer Reports, the month of November is light on your wallet. So if you are in the market, it may be for more than pumpkin pie and cranberry sauce. For one, experts recommend look for seasonal items like grills. The season for grilling, yeah, it may be numbered, but so have the prices as stores are looking to clear space. And that also includes bikes. Experts recommend buying a bike from a mom and pop store.
You're likely to get better customer service. And you also might be able to get extra features added on, a little bit more help assembling the bike. Same thing with grills.
Experts say another aisle you might want to check out, electronics. Camcorders, GPS devices, televisions all typically drop in price in the month of November. Okay, perhaps you think that you've got laundry down to a science. You might want to consider this. Reader's Digest has ironed out a list of 7 things you could be doing wrong. For one, they say don't just sort lights and darks. They say sort your clothes based on the amount of soil and how abrasive the fabric is. Also, don't mix your socks with clothes. They say put the socks in the washer first and then add everything else. It makes it less likely the socks will attach to other clothing items. What I want to know is where those socks disappear.
Yeah,
I put 20 pair in there and I never get 20 pair out. Also, zip up your pants before you throw them in the washer because loose zippers can snag delicate clothing and they can scratch doors of front-loading washers. And if you want to learn more about some common laundry mistakes, head to news10.net. The Arctic chill that is hitting much of the United States isn't as extreme right now as it was earlier, but it seems to be more widespread. Snow is falling in Boston, so the morning commute there, a little bit of a mess. In Little Rock, they got 1/10 of an inch of snow, the earliest measurable snowfall there since the 1950s. In Texas, temperatures will be near freezing for Friday night football games, and pretty much all you can say is brr. It's wickedly cold in many parts of the country. But Rob, you told us on News 10 at 9 that for those high school football games tonight here, it's going to be nice football weather. Kind of chilly, 60 degrees at game time. That's not bad.
Yeah, bundle up, watch the game. It's playoff football, so I think it's going to be just fine. You know, we are dealing with some still gloomy conditions for this area circled in red. The fog has lifted a bit, but it's still gray out there. These clouds will burn off later on today, and we're in for a really nice evening. It's going to be chilly, but nice clearer skies later on today. Let's go back to the Arctic chill, looking at some of the current conditions. Yeah, Chicago is just a tad warmer than Anchorage, Alaska right now. Just incredible cold temperatures persisting. What's been so incredible is not only how cold it's been in some spots, some record cold in places like Denver, 13 below. Their old record was 4 below for the coldest November temperature. They shattered that, and as you can see here, the main issue is not only that it's cold, it's that it's so widespread and that it's lasting for so long, taking you through the weekend. As you can see, there's another reinforcing shot of Arctic air that moves in by Monday. It sticks around by Tuesday. It's only Wednesday that we start to see some return to something that resembles what they usually see this time of year. As you can see in Stockton, the skies have cleared. We are warming up, 62 degrees. There's still some haziness and some low clouds lingering around the Sacramento area, but give it a few more hours and we're really going to clear out. The way that you clear out fog and low clouds is you warm up and you also need a little bit of wind to mix everything around. So you can see where it's cleared. We're already at 62 Stockton, 63 Modesto, not quite there, 55 in Sacramento. You can really tell where it's cleared nice and early just by looking at the temperatures. Also, the wind is starting to kick in a little bit. That's going to help. And still some areas of low clouds near Sacramento, but at the ground level, 5 miles of visibility. So we're not seeing the dense fog at the ground level, but still some lingering low clouds. As we take you through the next pattern here that's going to emerge, low pressure is going to move in, and that's going to happen after the weekend. So that's really going to change the overall feeling that we're going to get. Yes, we had some rain this week, which was nice, but take a look at what's going to happen going into next week. Tuesday into Wednesday, we see a weak storm, but still it's going to open up that window. We see more rain moving in by Friday and then possibly lingering on into Saturday afternoon, and then it's going to clear up. And then we're looking for very, very mild conditions as well. The temperature should drop into the 50s for highs by the end of next week. We're seeing that forecast now for the foothill locations with a bit of elevation. We could see just enough moisture to squeeze out a sprinkle up to a little flurry for the highest elevations on Saturday night to Sunday morning, but it's really not going to amount to anything. It's just something you should be aware of. I don't think it'll have any driving impacts or anything like that. And then we're going to look at solid 60s everywhere from the Bay Area, valley spots. We're seeing roughly the same forecast tomorrow. I think we're going to see some patchy dense fog in some spots, not quite as widespread as what we saw this morning. We see more drying, so there's just not that much that post-rain effect that we have. And then going through the weekend, we're finding rain chances, at least a couple of them Wednesday, and then again just before the weekend.
All right, thanks, Rob. Coming up after the break, the smallest and the tallest. It creates quite an image when they match up. See for yourself. We're going to tell you what this is all about. We'll come back with News 10 Midday right after this. Okay, check this out. One stands as tall as a British phone booth. The other, about as tall as a stack of textbooks. The world's biggest and the world's smallest with a chance to meet each other. There they are. The two meeting at an event in London. Sultan Kozan of Turkey measures 8 feet 3 inches tall. Wow. God, the NBA would love to have him. Yeah. His counterpart from Nepal, 21.5 inches. So not even 2 feet.
He went behind the banner, Dan.
Yeah, you can't even see him. There he is. Over there to the right. Yeah, the shortest human ever verified by the Guinness World Records. They posed for photos to celebrate Guinness's 60th anniversary.
You know, even though they're obviously completely on different ends of the spectrum, I'm sure that when they talk to each other, they have the same stories to tell. Just going through life must be challenging, but also they have probably some great stories as well, too. The
treatment that they get from people. You know, I always harken back to a story. Bill Russell, 6'9", who played in the NBA. Sure. He would say that people would always ask him, hey, how's the weather up there? Yeah. And he finally got so tired of it, he'd go spit and say, it's raining. Just to get him to stop bugging him.
Exactly.
You know? Yeah. Hey, we had rain earlier this week, but we're not going to see it again for a couple days.
Yeah, exactly. I think we're just fine for the weekend. Going into next week on Wednesday, we're going to have rain chances as well as the end of the week.
Come on back for News 10 at 5 and 6. Have a great weekend. We'll see you here on Monday. Good call, Tim.